Alright, today I want to take a closer look at one of my favorite TV shows of all time that combines two things that I like to talk about on this channel. And that is a TV show or movie with multiple aspect ratios depending on where and when you are watching it, and hidden Easter eggs within a DVD. And that show, like I said, is one of my favorite shows of all time, and that is Seinfeld. Today we are going to take a closer look specifically at Season 4 to look for any hidden Easter eggs within these DVDs, or to share with you anything that I find interesting about them. But first, let's talk about aspect ratios. When Seinfeld was on TV back in the late 80s and 90s, it had a 4:3 aspect ratio, which was common for the time. However, if you're watching it today on a streaming service or even on cable, it's most likely going to have a 16:9 aspect ratio. So what exactly are they cropping out to get this? Well, as you can see on the screen, it's about 20% of the image. In this case, it's the bottom 20%. Now, the 16:9 image is a little bit wider, so you do get a tiny more on either side of the shot there, but really, in my opinion, that's almost negligible. But when they went back and did the cropping, I thought they did a pretty good job keeping the characters in frame. Most of the time, it's just cropping up part of the table or maybe the ceiling in some shots. Now, the other thing I find interesting is just the look between the two. If I split it down the middle, you can see on the left in the 16:9, which was taken from a popular streaming service, it looks a little bit brighter, and there seems to be a little bit less contrast in my opinion. Whereas on the right, a little bit more contrast, a little bit darker, a little less bright. But ultimately, I grew up with this show being a 4:3 show, so when I watch it, I typically watch the full screen edition on my DVD set. That's just my personal preference. I'm not necessarily saying one way is better than the other, just how I prefer to watch this show. Alright, now let's dive into some DVD Easter eggs and some things that I just found interesting about the Season 4 DVD set. First and foremost, and this is true for all seasons of Seinfeld on DVD, the Notes About Nothing. It's just a fun little way to give you some insight into the show, the episode, or even the characters at some point. So, if you're a Seinfeld fan and you have not watched it with the Notes About Nothing, I recommend rewatching them again and turning them on. Now let's jump on into Disc 1. And first and foremost, I love the DVD menu layout. In this case, we're in Jerry's apartment, and all the buttons are scattered throughout. Just a nice little touch for a DVD menu. Now, I'm not going to go into every nook and cranny of this DVD. I'm just going to highlight the things I found interesting or stuff that I found that was hidden. And the first thing that I want to share with you that I found interesting is if you go to Extras and go with the Regis and Kathy Lee parody, it's just a fun little behind-the-scenes story they did with the Regis and Kathy Lee show, where Regis and Kathy Lee were talking about how they just watched an episode of Seinfeld, and then Jerry, Elaine, and Kramer recreated that part of the TV show and sent it to them. Again, just a fun little joke that I found humorous. Now, I couldn't find anything hidden on Disc 1, so let's jump over to Disc 2, which brings us inside the coffee shop. The characters call this Monk's, but if you go to New York, it's actually Tom's Restaurant. Anyway, on this disc are some of my favorite episodes of the show, including the Bubble Boy and the contest. Now, this disc, again, doesn't have anything hidden on it, but if you go to Extras, there are some really funny bloopers and outtakes, and if you like that sort of thing, these are great. I personally find it very funny when Jerry forgets his lines, and the other characters make fun of him for it. Now let's head inside an airplane and Disc 3. Both Disc 3 and Disc 4 have hidden Easter eggs in them. I'm going to show you where both are. But first, on Disc 3, head over to the Extras. Now scroll to the right so you highlight the word Episodes, and press up. It should highlight the trash icon. Click it, and you're going to be taken to a funny behind-the-scenes story about when Julia Louis-Dreyfus parked in Tom Arnold's parking spot. Apparently, both Seinfeld and Roseanne were filming near each other, and Tom was not a fan of Julia parking in a spot. So if you want to learn more about that story, go to Disc 3 of the Season 4 DVD, follow those instructions. I think it's worth your time to go watch it if you're a fan of this show. Last but not least, let's check to make sure we don't have any body odor, because we're going into Jerry's car. On this Disc 4, there is another hidden Easter egg. To find it, you need to go to Episodes, then go down and over until you have highlighted the word Extras, and press up to highlight the Need Oil symbol. You are taken to a behind-the-scenes outtake when the NBC president joins Greenpeace and is on a raft just getting sprayed in the face with water. And that's it. Like I said, I didn't go through every nook and cranny of this DVD set, but if you're a fan of Seinfeld and you haven't watched this show with the Notes About Nothing or haven't seen these Easter eggs before, go check them out. They're definitely worth your time. If you like videos like this and want to see more, let me know in the comments.